Morning, everybody. I'm going to do a Dave's Knife Rant slash mail review. Or, no, not that kind of mail review. Although I've been working out a little lately. I'm getting some of the muscles back, but nobody needs to see that. More of a respond to viewer mail. That's probably the way I should have worded that. So anyway, I take a lot of heat and hate from hardcore knife and gun guys who, I guess are from the Trump school of thought that, hate everything about China. Although Trump had a lot of business dealings in China. So he didn't hate him that much. Didn't hate him not enough to try to he always talked about Russia and China, but not so much that he didn't try to do a lot of business with them. Always remember that. And I voted for Trump. I criticized Trump because I think you need to be honest and hold your side accountable. That just because they're on your team, hey, if they fuck up, they make a bad call, they say the wrong thing, and you just plain out disagree with one of their plays, you don't side with them just because they're on your team. It's being dishonest and disingenuous. You should call them out. You should hold yourselves accountable. If you really believe that you're better than the other side, then you should try to elevate yourself by improving where you get things wrong and elevate yourself up. Make yourself beyond reproach. Sadly, that's not how the world works. So I've been a huge proponent of some of the Chinese knives. Now, we're not talking about counterfeits and passing off a fake Microtech with their labeling on it and trying to sell it to you and you buy it and realize, hey, this isn't the legit Microtech I thought I was buying. We're not talking about that. We're talking about companies who manufacture in China, whether they're a US company that uses them for manufacturing or it's an actual Chinese manufacturing company that's cranking out their own legit designs. They're working with renowned designers and making quality knives. And I buy from everybody, to me, the country of origin, I don't have, and some of the criticisms of people that give me are kind of bordering on racist because the way they're coming at it is, I don't just hate everything from China. I only buy from people that look like me or are from the same geographical region as me. You get really close to racist when you take that approach. And I don't subscribe to that. Now, I'm not going to buy from the Taliban, okay? And some will make this, well, China's just the same. No, they're not. The Chinese government is not our friend. Neither is Russia. Neither are a lot of countries. Yet, we're kind of like frenemies, right? We need them to manufacture our stuff so that Americans can afford it. And we need them to buy our products because there's 1.2 billion of them that buy our jeans, buy our Nike sneakers. Well, those are made over there, but you know what I mean? They buy American products. They buy KFC. They love KFC over there. Don't know why. They watch the NBA and wrestling and stuff. There's a lot of money that U.S. companies get because China is a massive consumer market. And they manufacture things and they allow us to get products here that could not be bought here at American prices. The average person wouldn't be able to afford it or wouldn't want to afford it. And to me, that is important because you can say, well, everything should be made in America. Okay, but the cost of doing business in America between much higher wages, benefit pensions, taxes, environmental costs, and things like that. Everyone's bitching about inflation. Well, hey, inflation's up, 13%. All my groceries cost more, everything. Okay, well, imagine if everything you bought, as much as things have increased now, imagine if everything that you bought doubled in price. Not just your groceries and not from inflation. On top of the inflation you're already paying, imagine if those prices just doubled overnight. You'd bankrupt half the country. Okay, people wouldn't be able to buy the things that they need or want. So in comes China with cheaper manufacturing. And I've mentioned before, there's a lot of crap that comes out of China. There's a lot of crap that comes out of the US. Some of the respected US names aren't what they used to be. And I pick on Case a lot. Now, I also give credit where credit is due. And I have been able to go in and handpick some Case knives like this Hunter, where I got to pick through a bin of them and find one that didn't have excessive crappy blade wobble and didn't have a nick in the edge and the pins weren't proud and the whatchamacallit, the side panels aren't cracked. Someone didn't drop it on the floor and ding the shit out of the brass and go, good enough, and throw it in a box. Because I've gotten cases that did that. You know what I've never had a problem with? Most of my Chinese knives. Now I'm not talking about the shit gas station knives because I don't buy those knives. Those knives are crap no matter who makes them. But when I bought Civivi, Jack Wolf knives, Kizer, Rough Ryder Reserve, Artisan, CJRB, Vosteed. I can do down the whole Vespa. These other guys, forget who made this one I reviewed recently. It's a Ray Laconico design. Fantastic little knife. I mean, beautiful execution. They load these things into CNC machines as long as someone's doing their job, but the grinds are better than half the American. I mean, I've got Benchmade, I got Microtech, Heretic, Axial Gear, a lot of the Medford. I mean, a lot of the more expensive US brands, I have those. And I respect them for what they are, and I like the craftsmanship and the quality. But not every knife do you want to spend $150 to $500 or $600 on a pocket knife on every time. You have a couple nice ones in your collection. And maybe if you have one that's purposed for something or a special occasion, or you think, well, that's my shit hit the fan knife. I want the damn one I could beat on a car door with and be reasonably sure it's not going to break the tip off the blade. That's fine. But for everyday use, do I need a $500 pocket knife? The problem is America makes quality. America can make quality, or we make complete cheap shit. We got the high end covered. We got the low end of the barrel covered, the bottom of the barrel. We don't have a good mid-range product in the knife world. You know, you can get an okay case, but they're so hit or miss. And everybody knows that. But, well, they're American, gotta buy American. If America, I'm not gonna buy American just because America. Obviously, I want to support my own country, so I do buy a lot of products. But taking this idea that, well, China doesn't like us, and they're dirty commies. The government is. You're right. Communist government in China is not good people. The average Chinese person just trying to make a living that actually works at a factory and actually cares about what they do and is willing to crank out a beautiful titanium machine knife with decent steel and a perfect bevel and put it together for $95 as opposed to $225 here in the States. There's a market for that. And I get all the hate about, you know, well, they're our enemy, there's this and that. Go back a few years. I, being a man of a certain age, remember a little bit of the 70s, but certainly 80s when I grew up, and seeing all the anti-Japanese car rhetoric. Gotta protect American cars, you don't want that Jap crap. And they go on and on, you know, how the Japanese were gonna kill the American auto industry, and they almost did. But in so doing, they also did the U.S. auto industry a favor. They revived it. They forced U.S. automakers to either get with the times, build a better product, more reliability, better designs, and get competitive with pricing, or they were going to go out of business. The problem if you go just America is that you remove that global pressure of competition. And like any product, if you have no competition, you essentially have a monopoly. What happens? Prices can go up, quality goes down. Why? Because where else are you going to go? I don't have a competitor. I don't have someone else coming in and saying, I can do a better job at 30% less. Really? You can save me money and you can give me a superior product, which is exactly what the Japanese did with the car industry. Yeah, we can do that. And we have the data to show it and the reliability and the reports. And all right, I guess I'm going to get a Mazda. I guess I'm going to buy a Nissan or a Honda. I'll buy a Camry. And the U.S. automakers saw that and had to readjust. They had to retool. They had to hire better designers. They had to build better cars and find a way to do it more cost effective. Now, part of that is your Ford F-150s built in Mexico, a country that's currently sending drug mules and sexual trafficking and all kinds of horrible stuff over our southern border and creating problems around the country. But I don't see everyone saying get rid of their Ford or their Chevy because it came from Mexico, and Mexico's not our friends. You know, we've got Italian knives. LionSteel. Well, this one's made by, well, labeled steel will, but this is an NKM that was made for them. Made in Italy. Italy were fascists. A lot of our US troops died fighting the Italians in World War II. Same thing with Germany. One of my knives I've been carrying a lot lately as it's been loosening up is my Boker Cattleman. Paid $200 something for this. Elegant, beautiful knife. These were the Germans, responsible for 2 world wars. How many Americans died because of Germany? Yet we buy their cars, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Porsche. What about electronics? Bosch. I mean, back in the day when I was in a car audio and stuff as a late teenager in early 20s and stuff, I had Blaupunkt, which translates to blue dot, but it was good German audio equipment. Your headphones, if you buy Sennheiser, sounds German, Sennheiser. We can go down the list of all the companies that we buy from, including you who are bitching at me about buying from China, from your Chinese iPhone, whatever phone you have, that if it isn't made in China, half the parts in it are, so are half the parts in your fridge and your car and materials used in your house if you have a house that was made in the last 20 years. Your hot water tank, your appliances, everything we own, most things come in whole or in part from China. And so just taking this, I think, racist approach and bitching at people like me for saying, look, there's things China does wrong and we can point that out, but there's things they're doing well. Jack Wolf knives, regarded as cream of the crop in design, execution, materials, made by Ryder, I believe. Ben, I know you watched some of my videos before. If you could correct me on that, it's Ryder, and I think Microtech uses Right. Ryder is a world-class knife maker. Their materials, their attention to detail, their CNC machining, the fit and finish, the polish, how well this is. This is a $350 knife by a US knife designer, but he outsourced the manufacturing to China. Why? Because he wants to get his knives, which are fucking amazing, Ben, pardon the French, but your knives are amazing. But in order for him to make this here in the States with these materials to this level of refinement would be what? Instead of $350, $750, $800, $900? In which case nobody would be buying them. A couple aficionados and rich people would be buying those, but most people aren't going to spend $700, $800, $900 on a pocket knife that's going to get used and scratched up and all that kind of stuff. $350 is kind of pushing it for most people. But absolutely brilliant, fantastic knife from China. Should I not buy it because the person from China, doesn't look like me? Because their government doesn't like us? Well, we don't like them. How about all the people that don't like Russia? Instead of Marsha, you got Russia. Well, what about them? How many of them are these knife guys that are like anti-Russian, anti-China, and all these people are enemies and we got to only buy American? You got a Russian AK? You got steel case Wolf ammo for your AK? Russian AKs are actually very highly desirable. They're one of the better ones to get. Do you not buy those because they came from Russia and Russia's been our enemy? Still our enemy? The Germans weren't our friends. The Japanese weren't our friends. Russia's not our friends. China's not our friends. And yet we do business with them. And they do business with us. That's the way the world works. We don't live in a world anymore where you can just sit there and narrow your views and say, I will only do business with people who look like me. I will only do business with people who like me. I think there is a line. You're not going to buy from the Taliban or ISIS. And some people are going to say, well, China's just as bad. They're not. Just stop. America needs to step up. And the part about the car analogy, competition from overseas, from Asia, from a former enemy. I mean, think about, Japan and all the anti-Japanese sentiment. Japan attacked us at Pearl Harbor in a cowardly act that pulled us into a world war that killed thousands of people and all the property damage, forever changed the course of human history, got us pulled into a war, initiated a draft, sent our folks, including my grandfather, I don't know if he was on the USS Arkansas or the Alabama, and he's dead, I can't ask, my mom would know, out in the South Pacific, fighting against the Japs, using the terminology that was common at the time. And such was the severity of the situation and how embroiled we were in the war and how it was. People today don't understand what a world war is like. They think like, oh, watching shock and awe in Baghdad on CNN or on TV is like, that's a war. When you're having your friend shipped off and there's battles being fought and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if in a year from now you're going to be speaking German or Japanese. The whole world is at war is a concept that most people today aren't familiar with. They can't relate to it because they've never experienced it. They've read about it in books. Maybe their grandfather told them about it. But even then, you're not gonna take their words and really get the same level of understanding and scope as if you lived in it, right? But it was so bad. I mean, the only way for us to get out was for the first time in history, a country nuked another country. We hold that record. We nuked Japan twice, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, killed tens of thousands of people, and then consider the fallout and radiation and the devastation afterwards. And no one's done it since. America's the only country to ever nuke anybody. And it all started because they attacked us. And yet the Japanese came back and are our manufacturing powerhouse, our former enemy. And yeah, they're our ally today, but only by virtue of the fact that we nuked them into submission. We hadn't done that, it'd be a whole different ballgame right now. But they came back, they challenged our US auto industry because they made a better product, cheaper. It was more reliable, more innovative designs, better technology. It was more reliable. And the fact that you save money on it, so people started buying it. And then the people who were either racist and or had skin in the game on the US auto manufacturing groups decided to try to shame people into, oh, you can't buy that, this and that. Build a better car here for a better price and I will buy it. That's what everybody should have been pointing to them and telling them. You tell us not to buy the Japanese, but they're giving me more for less. Why wouldn't I buy it from them? Well, because they're not American. Okay, so what? Well, you got to buy American. Why? Well, because I'm an American selling you a product that I want you to spend your money on and I want you to buy, so that's why. Oh, okay, so for your own financial gain, you're going to try to shame me into, conforming to whatever profit goals or borderline racism ideology you have, or a mixture of both. It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. When I buy a case knife, I've done this in my case videos, I've gotten a couple good ones. And lately I've actually gotten, because Lee over at Old Town Cutlery was nice enough to say, yeah, open up the boxes, unwrap them, let's find you one that is to your standards that, you're happy with. I want you to be happy with it, so I don't want you coming back saying, hey, this thing sucks. Go and get a good one. So I did. I got this, I got a couple others. Fantastic, great knife, great value for the money. But this is the exception. It's not the norm. When I buy was it Trevisa, or I don't know what the fuck this one was. Sorry, but this is a great little knife. My Rough Ryder reserves have all been, I didn't, other than this particular one, between myself and gifts for other people, I bought like 15 of these things. This was the only one I ever bought where the two pen blades weren't quite as sharp as I would have wanted. So I just ran them over a stone roll through my workshop real quick and stropped them and fine. That was the first one I had that wasn't what I would consider basically perfect out of the box. There's no way I could go buy 15 $60 to $90 case knives and have 14 out of 15 of them be perfect, and the one that's not perfect was just like a little quick tweak. There's no way. That is statistically impossible. And this costs half as much. It's been that way for all of them. And so to the people out there that are haters, and you just got to buy American and all this and that, shut up. Just shut up. Half the shit in your house comes from China or some country that you don't like or doesn't like us. Your all-American truck was built by Mexicans. So what? If it's a good product, who cares? We buy their stuff, they buy our stuff. That's how the world works. You may not like that. You might want to go back to the 1800s and all that stuff. Just shut up. It's not going to happen. I like quality and value. And if America made more of it, I'd have a lot more of them in my collection. As a result, most of the US knives I have are going to be a couple of the cases, Spyderco, and those are mid-print, you know, because you can get them down to $90-ish, but you can go up into the 100, 200 and stuff. But if you want just a decent old pocket knife that you're not going to be crying if you lose or if you do break it in a couple of years or something like that, and you want to spend $35 to $55, and you want US made, what are your options? Even if you go find a buck, if you find one in that price range, it's probably going to be made in China. Not a lot of options. I look at some of the Baron Sons, which are made down in Alabama, or Hen and Rooster, or one of them, maybe it's Baron Sons. I like the designs, but when you look real close and you magnify, you know, the pictures and stuff, and you blow them up, you can see how poorly made they are. They're not made to this level of polish and refinement. These are beautiful. I'm gonna do this so we get to focus. These are absolutely gorgeous knives, Rough Ryder Reserves. I can't recommend these enough. They're fantastic. The lockup is good. The springs are good. The fit and finish, the transitions, everything about it. I know that when I buy one of these, I'm going to get a good one. I have no such confidence in case. I know that I can get a good one if I pick through and hunt for it. So enough with the stupid hate and the anti-China shit. It's getting old. I am glad. Now, again, we're not talking about counterfeiters. I certainly don't want to see China put American knife companies out of business. But I'm hoping that, like electronics, I'm hoping that, like the auto industry and other areas, we've already learned this lesson. We've seen this movie before. We've gone down that path. And when the competition puts out a better product at a better price, as Americans, as American companies, you have a decision to make. You just say, look, we can't do it. I've heard Greg Medford talk, and I respect his product, and he's a cool guy and stuff, but he's a bit over the top for me. But it's like, I can't make a knife for that price. All right, well, they can. And we can talk about why, and they're subsidized by the government, whatever. At the end of the day, that's a $200 knife in the US versus a $90 knife. And US knife makers, like every other industry that faces these competitive pressures from around the world, where cheaper labor costs and reduced regulation costs and all that stuff allows companies to do things better, cheaper, the decision, I think, is clear. You either just abandon that value market and say, look, it's not feasible. We can't build a quality product given our costs and overhead because we don't have any government subsidizing us. So we're just not going to cater to that market. You know, we're going to cater to the more expensive market. That's what we can do. For us, a cheap knife is $140, and I can make a good knife for that, or maybe $100 if I cut a couple corners. But the US is just not going to be in that market. So if you want a knife in that bracket, you're going to have to go overseas. You can go to Boker. Although some of the Bokers are really expensive. I mean, this Cattleman's knife was, I think, $230 or $220. Not a cheap knife. But they've got some Bokers, but those Bokers might be made in China. I've got a Boker Stockman coming later today, or it may have been the mail delivered before, that is a Boker, I don't know where that one was made. I guess we'll find out. But I just don't understand the hate. And I think a lot of it comes from the whole Trump era of everything. China, 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 China's enemy. Like I said, I voted for him. I'm a fiscal pro-government, fiscal pro-gun, pro-border enforcement, for lower taxes, pro-cop, pro-military conservative. But on some social issues, abortion, legalization of pot, gay rights and stuff, I'm definitely more moderate and leaning liberal. But there's all those hardcore Trumpers that are just, whatever he says, China's the enemy. He hates China. He doesn't. He doesn't. He does business with them. He says that because he needs to create an enemy. He needs to create a boogeyman. He needs to give a cause for people to rally around, and it's China and Russia for him. Now, not saying that they don't pose actual risk to us. They absolutely do. But if China's going to take over and try to overthrow the United States and become the superpower, they're not going to do it with Rough Ryder Reserve knives. Okay? It's going to be militarily, it'll be economic in other areas. But the people making these knives aren't going, we want to make this knife so that we can secretly undermine America and bring them down. That's just not going to work. These are companies that are making a decent product. They can do it cheaper and they can do it better. And there is a market for that. Everyone wants to bitch about Walmart. Oh, Walmart puts out a mom and pop places and oh, they do this and that. Yeah. But not because they're Walmart and they could just come in and force that on everybody. It's because people wanted cheaper products. They wanted to save money. Walmart says, I can do that. I can buy in bulk. I can do this. I can, outsource and get things from other countries. I can make the products that you need on a daily basis. I can get them to you 15% cheaper or 20% cheaper than the mom and pop place that doesn't have the ability to buy and deal in volume and go through those extra steps. It doesn't have the technology and the efficiencies and distribution channels. The reason Walmart doesn't drive mom and pops out, everybody watching this does. Because if you stop going to mom and pops, if everybody didn't go to mom and pop, if everyone kept going to mom and pops instead of Walmart, there'd be no Walmart. There is a Walmart because we're like, well, I can go to all the mom and pop places, or there's this big box store that's got everything in one place and I'm going to save 20%. And I can go to one store and just get everything from ribeyes to a lawnmower, and everything in between, and a pair of jeans and a shotgun. That's why Walmart does what they do. Walmart isn't pushing this down anybody's throats. Walmart doesn't come in and drive them out. Mom and pops go the way of the dodo because people stop going. Just because there's a Walmart in town doesn't mean you can't still ignore them and go to the mom and pop. The problem is you don't. You go to Walmart. And I know I'm going to have someone reply, I don't go to... I know, I don't mean every individual person, but obviously enough do that the mom and pop places can't stay in business anymore. And so you can sit there and bitch about Walmart, just like we bitched about the Japanese automakers. We're bitching about Chinese knife makers. But at the end of the day, we want better, cheaper, easier. And so whoever provides that tends to be where people go. I have no problem buying American knives. But I'm not going to buy an inferior product for more money just because it's American. Someone else is doing a better job. There are times that I will want an American knife because I like that design, I like that designer, I like the company itself and the features, and I'm willing to pay the extra money for it. Whether it's Italian or German, well, in this case American, this one was $100, or $350 for an American design Chinese made knife. I love them all. I love knives. For me, this isn't about politics. It's not about making a statement and being able to, because what's the best part of buying American? So you can put the sticker on the back of your truck and tell everybody how you only buy American. I don't care. I go where the value is. I go where the quality is. If it's American, great. Sometimes it is, other times it's not. Right now I'm driving a Ford. My last several cars have been Chevrolet. I got a Chevy t-shirt on. But now I'm in a Mustang GT Performance Pack, a new one. But I've had Honda Ridgelines and Accords and Most of my cars have been American. Um, but motorcycles, I'm all over the place. 9 Ducatis, 7 Triumphs, 2 Aprilia, KTM, all Euro brands, like 20 bikes right there. But right now I'm on Kawasaki and Yamaha, 2 Japanese bikes. A country that formally attacked us and drew us into Pearl Harbor and cost us however many lives. Am I going to sit there and hold a grudge? And I know people say, well, that's different. That was then. The people are different now. And China, what they're doing is right now. I know there are some differences. I'm not saying your argument has no merit. I'm just saying it's not that big a deal to me. There's certain things you can worry about in life. And there's certain things where you're like, you know what, this is just how it is now. And people don't like change. And people hold grudges, and other people believe in Trump and whatever it is that comes out of his dumb mouth sometimes, and they just take it to heart and run with it. I mean, when Trump said, wouldn't there be something like bleach or whatever? He was making a comment, right, about COVID. And he wasn't saying to put bleach in there. But you know what? A couple idiots heard, well, Trump, my president, said, bleach. And suddenly they're, killing themselves because they're drinking bleach because they think it's going to kill COVID. There are idiots out there that take what someone says as gospel. Don't be that guy. Anyway, that's my little knife rant. I get where you're coming from on some areas, but I think it just doesn't make sense in the big picture. We buy Japanese cars, we buy Russian AKs, we buy every piece of electronics has something in it. Every appliance has something in it from China. And somehow drawing the line in the sand, but not my knives. That's the line you can't cross. Whatever. I'm so beyond it. I'll sit there and I'll reply to some of these people, but I'm almost like, are you serious? In this age, in 2023, with a global economy and everybody's buying from everybody and everything's being shipped all around the world, it's like, are you still sitting around clutching your pearls, worrying about this dumb shit? I think there's things that we need to keep in mind that in many ways China is our adversary, but they are our frenemy. They're our friend and our enemy. They're both. There's 2 aspects of our relationship. We need them in a lot of ways. They need us in a lot of ways. Even if they'd like to undermine us and elevate themselves in the process, one doesn't negate the other entirely. If we all took this approach of only buying from us, we'll only buy from people that look like us, and whatever border they're in, that's the people we will buy from. Who gets hurt more? Let's see, if we had to start making everything here and all the prices, much as things have gone up from inflation, you just take that and double it, maybe triple it. You think the American people won't be hurting? You think that's going to go over well? And think of all the companies that sell products or content or sports or whatever it is in China. If all of a sudden that billion consumers went away tomorrow, because if we do it, we say we're only going to buy and consume American things because America. What if China goes, yeah, fuck you, America, we're going to do the same. So we're paying more for everything we have because we can't produce it any cheaper. And so America's going to be bitching and crying about how it can't afford anything. And a lot of the American corporations that are selling the products over there suddenly aren't. Now they're laying people off, and there's less tax revenue being collected. You're going to have this whole trickle-down effect. Who do you think is going to hurt more, us or China? Just so we can say, I'll only buy American knives. Don't be that guy. We can have a discussion around it, but if you're going to sit there and try and shame me and imply that somehow I'm not a real patriot and not American because I also buy Chinese knives, and I think a bunch of them are really nice, and they are. I mean, I don't care what you say. You go show someone this knife, and if it didn't say China, or you didn't know that it was from China, and you just said, what do you think of this knife? Someone's going to look at it and go, it's exquisite. That is quality. That is an amazing knife. And if you gave someone one of these and said, hey, what do you think of this? They didn't see the stamp on the tang. They're like, oh, D2 steel, nice bevel, nice edge, really nice micarta. This is well constructed. There's no wiggle. Like, someone took their time and did it right. They go, I don't know. I don't know the brand. I mean, what is this thing, like 150 bucks or something? Like, this is really nice. It's substantial. It's quality. It's really well done. Really well done. What's this, 150 bucks? You're like, no, 42 bucks. What? So if your only reason for hating on it is because it's China, just save it. You have an opinion, you can post it and stuff, and I may engage in some of you in that conversation, but you're not going to convince me to suddenly stop buying anything China, because I got to get rid of, let's see, half the stuff in my computer over there. My work laptop, the IBM ThinkPad, I think was assembled in China, so I got to throw that out. That monitor was probably it's a Samsung, so it's got parts in it from China. I'd have to get rid of half of the things I own, including my car. Like, it's just not practical. It's not practical. So I'm not going to worry about it. You know, China invades Taiwan, or they do big things or overt. Of course, we need to oppose them. But sitting here thinking that what knife you buy is somehow making a damn bit of difference. There's no difference between the FUD on the right making that claim than some freaking tree hugger saying, well, if you buy this car, you're going to change the weather. Neither one of those statements or worldviews has any real validity to it. You might believe it. You might be able to half-ass articulate why you believe it, but it doesn't actually change anything. It just doesn't. It's just something for you to harp on and puff yourself up and make yourself feel like you're a better person because you're a patriot and I'm not, or because you care about the environment and I don't. It's a way to elevate yourself. It's a way to make you feel better, but it doesn't actually accomplish anything. And why reward U.S. companies who are doing a shit job? Why would I give them my business if they're not putting out a better product at a better price? They need to earn our business. Like the automakers learned that lesson, that if they want people to buy American, you got to give them a compelling reason to. And just saying, but I'm American. You have to, you're an American. I'm an American. You must buy from me. No, I don't. If you got a shit product, I'm not buying it. I'm going to deal with the headache. I'm going to pay more money and have it spend half the time in the shop. Screw that. I'll go buy the Accord. Do an oil change every 6 months and the thing will run forever. Like, you want my business, you got to earn it. And just looking like me and talking like me and being in the same rough geographical location on the planet, that's not earning my business. It's just not. Anyway, that's my knife rant for today. So hope you enjoyed. I'm going to come up with something for the podcast this weekend. I got a couple more knife reviews coming. I've got a Rough Ryder Reserve Chinese lockback knife that should be here next week. And I should have a new Boker here today. A Stockman design I saw that I liked. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. And yeah, we'll talk to you folks later.